Hey, it's Jack, and this video is how to love and accept yourself. Hey, if you're new here or you haven't subscribed to the channel, please just go ahead, subscribe, click the button, and you'll also see the bell notification. And if you click that, it will let you know when new videos come out. I tend to release 2 to 3 new videos every week on personal growth and relationships. Also, if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'd love you to do that. Just click the link below this video, follow me, please send me a DM, let me know that you're here, let me know if you have any specific questions or topics that you would like me to shoot videos on. Okay, so how to love and accept yourself. There's so many ways that we can orient to this question. And the one that I really want to focus on in this video is how to be at peace with the variety of parts, roles, conscious and unconsciousness that exists within you. So the essence of what I want to talk about in this video is loving yourself by actually fully accepting that you are complex and contradictory and that there are lots of parts to you and there's lots going on within you. So this is really an invitation to know yourself, not in a narrow way, right? That I know myself as a happy person or a go-getter or as a relaxed person or as a caregiver or as a parent. It's actually to invite the complexity of your life and to be with that complexity, to be with the fullness, the range of who you are. And the reason to do that is because then you don't need to be in resistance to any particular part of you or any particular expression. Where we get into problems, in my experience, is when there are parts of us that we shut down, that we repress, that we push away because they don't conform to this idea that we have of I'm this kind of person. And so another way of sort of entering into the spirit of this video is to notice the cherished beliefs you have about yourself, notice the ideas and ideals you have about yourself, and maybe inquire into whether they're serving you. Maybe it's time to relax some of those so that you don't need to carry too many ideas about who you are. The advantage of not carrying too many ideas about who you are is that you're not in resistance to yourself, and you're not needing other people to see you a certain way. You're not needing to be limited by your past, by who you were. You can become who you're available to becoming now. It's almost like I call it frictionless reality. You bump up less with reality. If you've got this idea that I'm a kind person, then anytime that you're experiencing something that's not kindness, which for most of us could include frustration, anger, melancholy, it could include spite or snideness, these kind of places where it's like, yeah, right now I would love to be kind, but really what I'm experiencing is something else. We don't grow by imposing on ourselves a view of who we are. At a certain level of our development, we grow by allowing what is and being in reality with what is, right? So this is sort of the limit sometimes of the traditional religious worldview is it tries to make you a good person by imposing certain things on you, rather than perhaps allowing you to notice, well, what is true in my experience now, which is what the postmodern reality that a lot of us live in is allowing us. It cares about our internal world, it cares about our subjectivity. And so we can notice on the inside, oh, yeah, what I'm experiencing right now is I'm a little tight. Or what I'm experiencing right now is I would like to be kind with you, but I'm actually kind of pissed with you. And we don't grow by pretending that what's happening isn't true. We grow by being with it and allowing and noticing and being authentic with our experience, even while we might cultivate certain parts of us that perhaps are more wholesome or more connected or whatever it is that you're wanting to be. But I hope that's landing a little bit, right? This is kind of a view that says if you want to love and accept yourself, you've got to love and accept your experience. You've got to love and accept the things that arise in you, even the parts of you, and any of you that have done therapy or coaching or shadow work, you'll know that our integration, our development at an integral level of development is to do with including the things that haven't been included, seeing the things that haven't been seen, allowing the parts that haven't been allowed. That is a big part of the game, is allowing those things to come together. So how do you love and accept yourself? You love and accept yourself by having this kind of inclusive orientation to yourself. You also love and accept yourself by just being with the reality of certain things. And I actually just made a little list here of some of these. So you love and accept yourself by being with the reality that most of us have contradictions, right? Most of us have paradox that lives within us, right? That it might be, one contradiction is that I really love people and I also really love not spending time with people. Or I really love people, and sometimes people are the source of the greatest frustration in my life. Right? That might be true for a lot of us, right? Or the contradiction might be that I really want to make money doing something that's heartfelt, but at the same time, I also really like making money. That might be true as well. Another contradiction could be I'm a very optimistic person, but at times I can hit a type of pessimism that is depressive, right? So for a lot of us, we might know ourselves more in our up and our light, but actually we have some really dark holes that we drop into. You know, a contradiction might be that, and this is the thing that happens for priests, you know, I'm a very moral person. I live by this very strong code of ethics and morals, and the odd time I do something that's kind of outrageous, right? That I do something that might by other people be seen as very immoral or amoral or just out of character, right? So it's like we have these contradictions within us, and a big part of growth is actually acknowledging and being with that rather than wishing or needing it to be different. Another thing is that we all have parts, right? And we have parts of us that disagree with one another, right? There might be a part of you that really wants to travel, and there might be a part of you that really just wants to be completely rooted and live in the same place your whole life, right? There might be a part of you that's super gregarious and extroverted and social, and it might be there's a part of you that's super introverted and just wants to like close the door on the world. Might be there's a part of you that's incredibly artistic and creative and for the love of the work. Might be there's a part of you that's super competitive and mercenary. It might be that there's, you know, a part of you that's super masculine and driven and directive, and there might be a part of you that's super feminine and super in the flow of life and super receptive, right? And again, there's all sorts of ways that we could understand that polarity. I'm just giving you flavors of these different polarities and energies that exist within us, that it may not always be easy to say, well, that is me and that is not me. It's sort of like, wow, the me that I experience can be very different day to day, week to week, moment to moment. It can have very different experiences of itself. And I grow and love myself by being more okay with that rather than needing to reject or repress or push certain parts of me into the dark. Another thing is that we all have earlier stages of development within us, right? So you might be now at a stage of development where you're really integrated, right? Where perhaps all these different polarities can exist within you. You may be in your head, your heart, and your belly. You may have integrated your masculine and your feminine sides. You may have integrated your anger and your frustration and some of the, quote, more societally seen difficult emotions. You may have done all of that, and yet within you have earlier stages of development. You have black and white thinking. You have absolutist thinking. You have your striver self that really wants to become someone in the eyes of other people. You have your egocentric self, right? That might be, me, mine, and might want to put that first. Might at times be like a frustrated toddler, right? You have your little boy or your little girl within you. You might have both. So I'm saying that because sometimes in the kind of spiritual, transformational, personal growth world that a lot of you and I move in, there's this sort of sense that we should evolve beyond certain things. And I don't think we grow by under acknowledging that we have all our earlier structures of consciousness and development within us, right? So I think this comes up a lot in judging other people's behavior, right? Like, how could someone do this? And maybe not being fully connected to the reality that the part of them that did that is a part that also may live in you. That might not mean that you express that part. It might be that you have it well under wraps. It might be very much more integrated in you, but it's not that you don't have it in you, right? There's this sort of kind of growth that happens when it's like, wow, yeah, the one that wants to, get the attention or have the power or be seen or be on stage or have everyone's attention or affection or really being seen to be someone, right? Have the social status of being a someone or of being societally stamped as successful. Most of us have that in us. It might not be the dominant way that we make reality. It might be that 99.999% of the time we are ego-free. But it's not like that isn't in us and could be activated in certain circumstances. It could be rightfully activated in certain external circumstances. If you're in a situation that's really life or death, it might be appropriate that actually your ego drive to survive really kicks in. So we can get into some of the nuances of that, but for this video, I want to allow you to be okay that those earlier parts of you may still exist. And it might surprise you. You might be going along, like I've had this where I can be kind of pretty cool, not too many things fazing me, and then I'm a bit tired at the end of the day, and someone cuts in front of me in line, and I'm like angry. I'm angry. I'm not just like, oh, I wonder why they did that. I'm angry, and I may say something, I may not say something, but I have to acknowledge, wow, I'm angry. And the part of me that's you could say that's rightful anger, right? The job of anger is to notice our boundaries, and we sort of have a social protocol that we make line. And if someone cuts in that, they're kind of free riding, they're kind of cheating the social contract. And at the same time, sometimes that response can seem a little disproportionate in me, right? Like I'm really angry about that, rather than like, hey, yeah, that's not cool, stop doing that. So I'm giving you permission to kind of get off your back in this sense. We all have within us probably a rage circuit, right? If you look at the work of Steven Pinker, who's a sort of public, influential academic, intellectual, he points out that humans, like animals, have a rage circuit. That you can stimulate people in certain ways that the likely response you're going to get for them is rage, right? And there's like a part of the brain that lights up when that happens. You may not have had that experience for months or years, and then something, boom, suddenly, you feel afraid in a certain way, or someone does something that for you is so out of line that this other thing snaps in. And again, I'm not trying to make that. I'm not tolerating certain forms of behavior that might stem from that, but the actual experience that's happening, we can distinguish that. You don't necessarily have to act out on it, but for a lot of people, when that rage circuit gets activated, it's really hard to not do something that you might later regret, because it's not like you're living in that rage circuit all the time. It's kind of the animal part of you, right? You might be the most deep and precious soul, and you're still an animal. So you're still going to have some of those animal impulses that live within you. And obviously a lot of our development has been about the scaffolding higher levels of development over the animal self. And then there's a sort of stage of development where we reclaim the animal self, right? Where we stop making our head and our mind the be all and end all. And we actually notice, we have a body, and our body has experiences, it has feelings, it has intuitions, it has information. And so a lot of, integral development is about getting more in tune with our somatic experience. And there's also an animal that has some pretty instinctual impulses, and that needs to be included as well. We all have unmet longings. We all have competing values, right? Where there's kind of two or a number of things that we value, and it makes it really hard to make a decision because we're internally divided because there's these two values, right? Sometimes there's a value around loyalty to someone, right? But there's also a value around right action, and maybe this person's done something that is very hard for you to stand by, and you're feeling a bit torn because you want to acknowledge your loyalty, but you also want to say, hey, you're kind of out of line here. And that's just a simple example. There can be way more complex examples of this. So, I've kind of given you a long laundry list there. The reason I'm doing that is to invite you to be cool, to be okay, to be meta okay, to be loving and accepting of the fact that all these things probably live within you. And as you develop on the path, you may find there are more things in you than you allowed to notice before. And there might be parts of you that you notice that are resentful, or hateful, or young and demanding and not very well behaved, right? And that part of fully being yourself and loving yourself is that you love yourself with that. You love the reality of that you're okay. You might be working on yourself, you might be integrating your anger or dealing with your frustration. I want to encourage you in that work, and at the same time you can love who you are in all the ways that you fall short, in all the ways that you aren't integrated, in all the ways that you thought you were more spiritual than you really were, in all the ways that you've considered yourself evolved and you can't believe that someone, quote, as evolved as you would still be having this problem, right? Which is probably your inner critic coming in through the back door. So the way that you love yourself in this orientation is the kind of love that's like, I see myself in my light and my dark, and I welcome it all. I don't make myself wrong for my dark. I don't hide my darkness. I look at it and I see it, and I love it, and I love that in myself. That there's a kind of love that has to do with not making an evaluative judgment about something, but it's more of an abiding. It's like a witness, like I see and I'm with this. The kind of love where let's say someone's telling you their story or the ways that they've been hurt, and you're not going to go and fix it for them, but you're going to sit by their bedside, you're going to hold their hand, and you're going to listen to, and you're going to witness themselves, you're going to witness their life, you're going to witness their story. And you can do a similar thing for you. You can witness yourself in all the glorious ways that you have shortcomings and that you can't even explain why you did something, or parts of you that take over that are young or irresponsible or whatever it is, and that you might still be able to love yourself in a kind of unconditional way. That is really what it takes to be fully loving and to be fully accepting of who you are and who you're becoming. So I would love for you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I would love for you to take my free webinar. If you haven't taken that, just look below the video, click the link, find a time that works for you in your time zone. I'd love for you to follow me on Instagram. There's a link just below the video. Do that. Please private message me, let me know that you've joined, let me know that you're a YouTube person, and if you've got any questions and comments. And as always, thank you very much for being here. I'm Jack. I'll see you soon.